Hello,
Hello.
good evening.
Hello, good evening. Good evening to you guys.
This is a session mostly on how to clear UPSC in your first attempt. What we're going to do in this session is we're going to take some frequently asked questions. We have tried to cull them out of YouTube comments and we're going to address them to begin with.
Sir is Ranchan sir and I'm Nitin Gautam, and we'll discuss all these things with you on your all the doubts that you have regarding your UPSC, particularly with respect to clearing it in first attempt itself.
Yeah. So a bunch of questions which people most commonly ask, and in fact aspirants who are appearing for the first time, they ask us. Some of these questions we have tried to include in the slide itself. Yeah, this is the first question. Most frequently asked questions, especially from students who are going to write it for the first time. The first question is how to clear UPSC in the first attempt, and this is a question I'll let Nitin sir address.
Okay, thank you sir. So all you guys, if you are looking to clear UPSC in the first attempt, we must understand that what is required for clearing the exam. So if we look at the syllabus and how people have done in their UPSC, people who have already cleared it, what is the good things that they have done? So if we look, we must first of all understand that what is required to be done. So first of all, you should divide your time in 3 phases, which I would suggest you. The first phase would be a learning phase, in which actually you will learn about all these subjects in the syllabus. At that point of time, you should not be very concerned about what is prelims, what is mains, what is for prelims, what is for mains. You should focus on just understanding the subjects that is given in the syllabus. So first of all, I would say the first phase is learning phase. If you are reading economics, if you are reading polity, the thing is you must first learn the subject. Too much focus on prelims, mains, neglecting the subject might be costly. After that, then you can go, once you have done your syllabus, once like you have read it completely, then you can start, fine tuning it in the way that exam asks questions about it. So looking at prelims questions and looking at mains questions, in the second reading, you can actually filter out what is important, what is not. In the first reading, I would suggest you should learn everything. You should learn the subject that is being taught, right? And then at that point of time, when you are started like reading it second time, you can go for answer writing, solving questions, and then taking some good guidance from people who have experience. And the other thing that is important, if you want to clear it in first time, is that you must not waste time, because as far as I know, the syllabus might take 14-15 months for completion if you want to do so. And so in first attempt, you might not be left with much of the time. So wasting time or sort of following something wrong would not be advisable from my part.
That's nice. Yeah. All right, so the next question is, sir, why only few aspirants clear it in the first attempt? Is it their luck? Now, one thing I would like to tell you all is that this exam, you will find that roughly around 10 lakh candidates appear for this exam. They don't appear for this exam, they apply for it. 5 lakh candidates out of those 10 lakh eventually appear for this exam. And in the end, usually the vacancies are in the ballpark of 900 to about 1,000. So if you have to eventually get selected, at least in the IAS, the Indian Administrative Services, for an unreserved category candidate, this would be basically you're looking at the top 100. Now, top 100 out of a total of roughly 5 lakh candidates which appear for this exam, quite obviously, it is not going to be completely about luck. Yes, there is every element of luck involved in any selection process, which is very, very hyper competitive. But you have to remember that you have to be very hardworking to be that lucky, to be in the PDF, which is the most coveted PDF in this country. Now, firstly, why only a few aspirants clear in the first attempt? This would also be a logical conclusion from what was discussed in the previous question. The reason why only few aspirants clear it in the first attempt is because of a lack of strategy and a lack of guidance, which normally comes from the fact that they do not understand this exam very well. Now, Of these 5 lakh candidates, there will be broadly between 15 20,000 candidates. These will be people who have previously had an experience with competitive examinations, and they would understand how competitive exams function. Now, since UPSC in terms of the eligibility criteria does not prescribe a stringent eligibility criteria, only that you have to be a graduate and 21 years of age, and that's all when it comes to eligibility criteria. It invites applications from across a vast category of candidates, many of who have either not had a previous chance with a competitive examination, or even if they had a shot, they really did not succeed. So what they try to think, or what they're actually thinking, is all those people who clear this exam are people who are very, very sharp. Now, of course, for them to clear a hyper competitive examination, there will be some element of intelligence and some element of sharpness, sure. But you also have to understand that this is an exam. So for every exam, there is always a certain pattern, and you have to be good at cracking that pattern first. So that pattern is a part of your strategy. You have to get in touch with people who have been in this industry, or people who you think are respectable enough or valuable enough, who are going to tell you what is the correct approach whenever you're thinking of the prelims examination, maybe in terms of mains or even in terms of personality test. You may have your own friends, your family members who have previously been successful. Ask of them as to what would be the correct approach towards this examination. Firstly, understanding the syllabus, understanding the nature of the exam itself, because this exam will have 3 stages: objective type, then you will have a subjective type test, and then you will have the personality test. Each of those 3 stages has a different requirement. In the prelims examination, what the skill which is most tested is whether you can eliminate some options or not, whether you know how many questions to attempt or not, how many questions to leave, and all of that comes from practice. Of course, there is an understanding, there is some amount of memory which is going to be required. You have to read a lot of study material too, but there is also a skill that you have to develop. Similarly, when it comes to the mains examination, there is a lot of expression over which your chances of selection are based. In the mains examination, you don't find options in front of you. You are given questions, and then you are given a limited amount of real estate, and you'll have to reproduce whatever you know. So your answer is essentially a representation of your thought on that particular question, and you will be evaluated on the basis of that. The skill which is required there is answer writing. So that's a skill which is going to come only with a lot of practice, dedicated practice and targeted practice exactly towards the syllabus. And the last element is one that of personality test, which is quite inherently about, what is your evaluation of various issues in the economies or in the society in general. How are you as a candidate? What is your personality? Will you be able to tackle pressure or not? Each of these 3 stages has a very, very different requirement, and you have to prepare yourself and you have to tailor your preparation according to the exact requirement of the exam itself. Now, the first timers, since they assume that only the smart people make it to the exam or make it through, that is the first mistake. The first thing that the smart people have, that most people should do, is that they should understand the requirements of this examination and not be too bogged down by the syllabus therein. Typically, it'll be better if you could, get in touch with some person who has previously cleared this exam, or maybe get in touch with a team that is going to help you exactly formulate your strategy. Once you're done with that, then do your basic reading, develop a basic understanding of the core aspects of every topic, and then apply that understanding to. Apply that in the form of objective type question papers, apply that in the form of, you can say, a mains or a subjective type question paper, and then get evaluated and assess your performance also. Remember that this is a process. It's not going to happen overnight. And this process requires a lot of discipline. And if you ask me, the question is it there luck? Of course, there will be some element of luck involved, but the bigger element which is going to help you clear this examination is not luck, it is hard work and discipline. So if you have no work ethic, you have to first develop that work ethic, become hardworking, become very, very disciplined. And only if you are hardworking will you be lucky enough to be a part of these top 100 people who will eventually make it to the services. Very few aspirants, why they do it in the first attempt, like I said, most likely it's about the understanding of the exam and formulating an incorrect strategy, or could also have to do something with their attitude because they start to feel disheartened by their performance. Some of them will leave this in the midway. You don't have to do that. Persistence, hard work, discipline, and continuous assessment is what is going to help you see yourself through.
Can't agree more to sir whatever he has said. I guess that would clear the doubts regarding that question. And now the next question I would take, I was not best in studies in school or even in my graduation. Can I still clear UPSC in the first attempt? Now that's a doubt that most students have, and they often think that very elite or some sort of a premium students clear UPSC. However, that is factually incorrect. If you look at the people who are clearing this examination, you must have looked through YouTube and social media. You do have access to people who have already cleared this exam. And we already know that we can see people from AIMS and IITs and IIMs making it into the list too. But we also see people maybe from some very, simple institutes or having a very simple, even non-technical degrees. They are actually getting top ranks and getting selected every year. So being a good student is the key. So is it school or the graduation that determines it? Not exactly, because maybe in school education most of the people are not exactly very serious about their studies, and as a child I would say that my performance in school was more about my family. What my family did to me reflected in my scorecard. Hagini, when we grow adult, we actually start thinking about ourselves and we put in efforts into things that we wish to do, right? So a child's performance in school is more about his socialization and how his family wants, they pressurize him, or maybe they have educated parents, and that actually reflects in their marks in their school times or even in graduation. But eventually when people grow out, their own personalities grow when they grow adult, and they start choosing things and they get serious about things that they wish to do in life. So if that is your approach and you can actually put in some serious effort in like preparing for the exam, 100% you can clear it, because school examination and graduation examination is certainly not a factor for UPSC.
I would like to add a little bit more. I was a brilliant student in school. I was a brilliant student in, I wouldn't say a really brilliant student in college as well, but most likely my school performance has been brilliant. But I didn't make it. And I know quite a lot of people who did not go to, colleges with pedigree, or, they were not a part of the IIMs or the IITs or the BITS Pilanis or the AIMS of the world. They were not a part of those. People who went to, colleges that you may not even have heard the name of. And yet they found themselves in the top 100, many a times in the top 10 also. So it's not like you have to come from pedigree only to be able to clear this examination, in which case you would not find that 5 lakh students or 5 lakh aspirants are appearing for this exam. Many of them have had a successful experience. So don't get bogged down by what you have done so far. Please be more concerned about what you're going to do here onwards. Like I said, work ethic, discipline, persistence, and continuous evaluation and assessment is the one thing which is going to help you see yourself through, not your college degree. That doesn't count for much. The next question is, so what mistakes do people make in the first attempt? It will be a continuation of what I said previously also. Like I said, the most common mistakes are, firstly, mistaking selection in this examination to be a factor only of intelligence or that of pedigree. That it is an exam that only the smart people and only people who have had brilliant college experiences, only they can clear. That is the first myth. Most of the selections, in fact, I would dare say somewhere around 70-80% of the selections are for people who have had no STEM background even, for that matter. So that is one. Second is an unclear understanding of what it takes to clear this examination. For example, many students don't know that there is a skill required, there is a way to navigate an objective type test. Like in my previous session also, I told many students that when you are attempting questions, don't attempt only those questions which you know answers to. Sometimes you may be confused between two options, and it always pays off to make informed guesses. Because imagine that there are 10 questions, even with an accuracy rate of 30%. That means if you have made 10 guesses, 3 of them right, 7 of them wrong, is still going to land you in a positive 1 point something marks. If you have 4 right guesses, 6 wrong guesses, that is an addition of 4 marks. So people who are good at objective type examinations, especially the ones which come with negative marking, also know their way around these type of exams as to how do you maximize your score, even if you don't know everything in this question paper. So that is always one. finding ways of, or you can say clearing an objective type examination, discovering the kind of candidate you yourself are, which is to say there are some people when they are under a lot of pressure, they don't perform very well. For example, in my case itself, if I was stuck between two options, typically my gut feeling used to be wrong. But how did I discover that my gut feeling is normally wrong? Because I took a lot of tests. So once you take a lot of tests is only when you start to understand yourself as an aspirant, to understand your performance and your reaction to some questions, right? So you have to subscribe to a decent test series. You have to continuously not be bogged down by the marks that you're getting, but you have to focus mostly on the performance, whether you are on an uptrend or a downward trend, and the reasons behind that. Especially along the side, you also have to find ways of expressing. For example, in the mains examination, there is ethics and there is essay. Both ethics and essay fundamentally are about expression, not so much about knowledge, but about expression. Then there are other subjects too. For example, one probable mistake that most people they make you can say a fair amount of times is when they prepare for this examination, they look at the syllabus for general studies. And because general studies is so vast, they devote more than 90% of the time only to cover general studies. If you have to clear this examination, you also have to know that there is an optional too. The optional is 500 marks, essay is 250 marks, ethics is 250 marks. So that means out of 1750 marks in the mains examination, 1000 marks come from some areas which are rather static in nature. That means optional, essay, ethics is 1000 marks, only 750 marks for GS 1, 2 and 3. So you have to dedicate some amount of time to your optional as well. For example, if you start your preparation, let's say around the month of April or May, by December, you should be optional ready. By December, you should have done your optionals, completed your optionals alongside your general studies, and also taken a test series, so that between prelims and mains, when you have very little amount of time, you will not have to pick up many new sources. So strategy, in fact, more specifically, if you ask me, this exam is fundamentally about time management. You have very limited amount of time, and in this limited amount of time, you have to cover so many things. So you have to prioritize, and you always have to know to what level of depth do you have to go every time you pick up a topic. Don't try to become an expert in many topics, because that's a fruitless exercise. You have to cover many things. So your horizons of knowledge should be broader. You should be able to articulate yourself in 150, 250 words. And then you should also think of your optionals right when you start preparing for this examination. Don't leave it for far longer. These are very, very common mistakes. And the most common mistake which I find is that you speak to a lot of people. If you speak to 100 different people in this exam, you will get 100 different opinions. And each person will have a different opinion, and you will end up confusing yourself even more. So find people who you can trust and rely on their advice to you. If you find their advice is not working out for you, then find another person. Don't try to talk to a lot of people at the same point in time, get some 50,000 opinions on the same thing. Don't end up confusing yourself. Always be very, very clear in your mind and be dedicated and disciplined. If not today, tomorrow you're going to succeed.
So I would take the next question. So what should be my strategy to clear in the first attempt? So a lot has been said by Sir itself. I don't think there is much to highlight here. But what I would say is that even in first attempt or second attempt or third attempt, I guess the fundamentals are very clear. When you appear for exam, never plan it in bulk. Never think that I'll clear this exam in third attempt, whether it's your first attempt or it's your second attempt or third attempt. You always go for one attempt at a time. And when you decide, or when you are thinking that I'll appear next year, you should always decide that I have to clear this exam this year itself. You cannot enter a match thinking that, okay, I'll win the next match, let's lose this one. So you should not do that. Now coming back to what is to be done, I would just sort of keep it very simple, and I would just try to highlight what I used to do. So for me, clearing an exam would require only two things. The first one is how you plan things, and the second one is execution. That's the only two things that is required for an exam or a business, whatever you do. Actually, these are the two things that you need to do. Now, in the planning part, you need to see what is your date of the exam. What is your date of the exam? And when you are starting, so you know how much time you have. Get a good good look on the syllabus, what you need to read, the book lists and all that, and then don't venture into what else without knowing which direction to go. Get a good person to guide you what is to be done. So strategy part is again the another thing, what is to be done at what point of time, and then start doing this. Divide the time into the work that is to be done. That's very simple. You can get the aggregate work, what is to be done. You can get the aggregate time, how much time you have, and you can actually divide it on paper. Now that looks very simple to do. That is maybe 5 hours work. But the challenge starts when you actually start executing it, right? That is the problem. So anyhow, if you are missing a single day of whatever you have planned, that day would not return, unfortunately, in your preparation. So you'll have to cover it up, and there is only a certain level of backlog that can be cleared in one attempt. If you are leaving things for 3 months and then you think somehow that when exam would come, I'll cover it up, that is not going to happen. So what I say, have a good plan, have a plan which is suggested by people who know this exam well, and then try to follow it as far as possible. If you can execute what you plan, you will get what you want. That is a simple principle in exam and life. If you plan well and if you can execute, that's a very challenging thing. That's easier said than done. But if you can do that, that is how exams are cleared. That is how success is achieved in any aspect of life.
I would like to add a little bit more so that you get a little bit of a granular detail also, because you asked, okay, what should be my strategy to clear this exam? Normally, see, this is a strategy which is not going to work for everyone. So you have to eventually customize it to your own requirement. But like sir said, firstly, you have to plan for it. For example, if I'm starting today and if I'm attempting, let's say in 2027, around the time of May 2027 is when you'll have your first prelims. So don't prepare for the first prelims. Like, you don't tell yourself that I have 2 years to go from now. Tell yourself that I will have to be ready, prelims ready by the next year itself. Give yourself a 12-month window. And in the 12-month window, what you will want to do is, you will have to cover, broadly speaking, 2 things. Your general studies plus an optional. Now, in your general studies and an optional, typically the time division happens, like a student like me would cover both things in the same day. But many students, what they do is, in 1 week, they are going to do 4 days for, let's say, an optional, or 4 days for GS, and the remaining 3 days are exclusively for the optional or GS. That means 4 days for general studies alone, standalone, 3 days for optionals. Never leave them, you can say, hanging in the midair. You should tell yourself that if I start in April, by December, I have to be prelims ready and I have to be mains ready. More specifically, what it means is, by December, my optional is done. When I say optional is done, what does it mean? It means that I know what optional I'm selecting and I'm basis, my score in this examination. More specifically, select your optional, read the basic material, understand the basic material, form your own notes, make your own condensed or short notes, revise them, take a test series. That is what I mean by having been done with an optional by December itself. Alongside, you'll have to cover your syllabus for general studies. And when you're covering your syllabus for general studies, know that GS1, GS2 and GS3, in fact, both GS2 and GS3 are a little bit more dynamic. So you will continually have to update your material, because a lot of questions will be based on issues as they show up in the news. General Studies 1 is rather more static. Ethics is more static, and also essay. Leave ethics and essay in the beginning, because this can be covered later on also. Try to cover your GS1, 2 and 3. And when you're appearing for GS1, 2 and 3, at least have your 4 basic core subjects very, very strong. This would be the subject of history, subject of polity, subject of economy, as well as geography. Once these core subjects are strong, then pick on other topics too. Your understanding of other topics will also be better, right? And then, because the bulk of questions both in prelims and in mains come straight from the core aspects of history, geography, polity and economy, you will be able to address them better. So you have to be done by December itself. December to May next year, you have to develop a strategy around prelims. That means take a lot of tests, and from these tests understand how do you eliminate options. Don't rely solely on questions to which you know the direct answer to. You will have to develop this skill to take as many tests as you possibly can and see how you are getting better and better by the day. By the time you appear for the prelims, between prelims and your mains examination, there is roughly around 3 months time. And in 3 months time, there is nothing new that you can pick up. The only things that you have to pick up in these 3 months will be parts of your general studies ka syllabus which are not overlapping with the prelims itself. For example, subjects like an internal security, subjects like ethics, subjects like essay, those things which are not covered as a part of prelims, you can study them in these 3 months, but you cannot pick up an optional in these 3 months. You cannot pick up your core subject in these 3 months. So in these 3 months, the only new reading you will have to do is that part of the main syllabus, which is only and only specific to mains itself and not overlap. It doesn't overlap with prelims. Once you have this kind of strategy, along these 3 months, you have to write a lot of tests also. Try to get better at completing tests. That means work on your speed, be able to write 20 answers in 3 hours time. And then once you are able to complete your tests, then you evaluate what is the content that you put in your answers and that make it better. Remember, it's a process. It's not going to happen overnight. You're not going to suddenly become great at attempting this examination. This is going to be a very, very painstaking process. It is going to take around 12 to 15 months of time of yours. All right. So the next question is, how much time do we actually need to clear UPSC? Like I said, the last sentence of mine, 12 to 15 months, I think is more than sufficient time for you to clear this examination. I understand many of you will still be doing your graduation. You will still not be ready with your degrees. So longer the time frame you have, better it is for you, but only if you utilize that time frame. For example, if you are going to write it in 2 years time, don't tell yourself that you have 2 years. Tell yourself that I have only 1 year. If I have to attempt it next year, how good will I be as a candidate? Only when you give yourself targets that you try to achieve those targets will you become better. By the time you appear for the next year, don't take that exam because you possibly can't. At least look at the question papers and try to attempt them and see if you could have cleared it in the first go itself. And then from that 1 year onwards, from the next year's prelims till about next year mains, find out what have been your major problem areas and then work on those problem areas alone. Don't tell yourself that you have 2 years of time. Oh, I can, be very relaxed about it. Don't do that. Always be guided with time. Always keep your time about a year, and that's not more than that. If you ask me, the answer to this question will be, I think 15 months is better if you can afford 15, but 12 months is more than sufficient time.
I would agree with that, sir. I also believe 15 months is the right time. Yeah. You would need 15 months, but if you can actually put in some more hours, if you want to finish things in 12 months, maybe you can increase 1 or 2 hours of your daily work and it might be completed. But on an average, it would require sort of just a bit more than 1 year. That is the minimum ask. Yeah.
And these are all the questions.
So I could see many of you guys like Anjulika, I can see Ram Ratan and Kanchan, you guys having a lot of doubts regarding what we could cater in this session. And obviously we have some paucity of time here, so we cannot cater every doubts here. So what we have done is that we have organized a master class for you guys where you can come join. The link you can get in the description, and all the doubts that you have regarding the exam, we'll have our faculties and mentor team sitting with you sort of on a Zoom call. You can personally ask your questions and it would be catered to you, and you can join this session on the next day, that is 16th April at 7 p.m. The link would be provided in the comment section. Okay. So now there is also another announcement that we are actually launching Pinnacle 2027 English batch, all English batch, and it is for the students who are actually targeting 2027 UPSC year. For them, there is an online batch, and you can join this. This would be, again, I would repeat, an all English batch. There would be no Hindi content. So I would suggest you guys, if you're looking for some English batch, you should look at another batch. If you're looking for complete English content, you should join this batch. And in this, I would also highlight certain features of this batch. First of all, the batch would start on 17th April. So you can log into our app and then see about the batch. The details are there. I would just give you a brief highlights of the batch. So this batch actually has live and recorded lectures. So you'll have your classes scheduled, and you would get live lectures from the teachers, and if you somehow miss that class, you can get recorded lectures for the classes. Along with that, we'll also highlight that you would be given DPPs, that is daily practice problem MCQs, would be provided on the classes that are done. So whatever is being taught, we would provide you with questions that day which you can solve, and along with that there would also be some mains question which would keep you updated about what sort of questions are to be asked in the mains from the topic concerned. Along with that, we also have our comprehensive books which would be provided to you in the PDF format, right? And so I guess we have discussed this. Also, I need to highlight that along with the GS and the optional thing and the preparation, we also know that there is a decent space that is to be covered in terms of current affairs. So our batch also would include weekly current affairs lectures by current affair experts. You can actually read yourself and then join the session. That would also be a revising sort of revision session for you, and also would put some clarity into things which maybe you would not understand at that point of time. Maybe that teacher would be able to guide you. Along with that, you can also have a regular doubt session. We have our doubt engine there. You can connect to our mentorship team and you can clear your doubts as and when required, right? So I would also like you to introduce to the teachers who would be a part of this batch, right? So first of all, I would say the planning for these teachers are done beforehand, and it might change if some teacher is busy or health issues or whatever. There are emergencies where teachers might be changed, but if things go on well, these would be your teachers mostly. So Kapil Sikka sir would go for polity with you guys. After that, Ritesh Jaiswal sir would cover science and tech with you. Vikas Alawat sir would cover a part of history. The rest part would be covered by Abhishek sir. Along with that, for geography we have Dimple ma'am. Dimple ma'am would guide you in geography, and then Harpreet sir would help you with understanding society. Right? So, yes, next slide. Yeah, so I've already highlighted these things. So you'll also have CSAT classes. We all know that CSAT has got a bit trickier, particularly from 2020. I don't know, UPSC guys are enjoying putting some maths problem to you. So you should also be well prepared. So I would just highlight that CSAT would be covered in the batch itself. It's not that you'll have to prepare it on your own or somewhere else. This would be a part of the same batch itself. Right? And already told you, I would tell you about some of the other features that you would get in this batch. So the first thing is, there is a feature in our batches where you'll get a lecture and then you get notes regarding that lecture in 24 hours. However, we are in this batch planning to do something else. We are bringing in DCN 2.0. So daily class notes would be provided in a very different format. Because of the experiences of previous batch, we realized that if we actually accumulate the notes and convert it into modules, which is given beforehand to people, so they can have a look at the subject and then they can come into the lectures, which might enhance their learning experience. So what we have done, this time you will get DCN into small. So like if you talk about climatology as a subject, so we would give you a module of climatology, class written, handwritten notes. You can just sort of check it once and then you can join the batch. It would be easier for you to grasp the classes if you read it beforehand, right? And already DPP and DMP I've already highlighted. Right, so along with that, the batches would also focus on some strategy related things. So answer writing classes would be there, and then there would be teachers who would suggesting you strategy, your doubts regarding what is to be done, what is not to be done in the classes, how to write answers, how to approach prelims. These things would be a part of the course. So I guess even for that, you would not have to rush to somewhere else, right? So I guess these things I've already discussed with you. Guys, And now, the supplementary benefits of this batch, already told you, the ebooks, that is the comprehensive books, would be provided, already discussed. And then see, our team of PW also brings in some materials for people to to help them in their journey of the examination. So there are dedicated materials for current affairs, then there are dedicated materials for prelims revision, there are dedicated materials for main revision, and then these all things would also be provided to you in the PDF format, and you can actually gain the benefits in this batch itself, right? And from here on, Ranjan sir would carry on.
Yeah, so this is your basic part of the course. Basic part of the course will of course include your live classes. These classes you will have your recorded lectures also. Then you will also have answer writing sessions. You will have a team that prepares a study material for you. So daily class notes, supplementary reading materials, monthly magazines. However, these are all going to be available to you in a PDF format itself. We have also added a supplementary feature to the same batch, Pinnacle 2017. This supplementary feature is called a Select 360 feature. Now, what is a Select 360 feature? If you add on, like if you just have to have a top-up to your Pinnacle batch, in this top-up, what you're going to get is essentially a dedicated mentor. In a sense, we'll also have a set of 24 books. Now, in the regular batch, the same books are going to be available to you in the PDF format. However, if you opt for Select 360, the same books are going to be sent to you by post, and you're going to get a hard copy of the same. When we speak about a dedicated mentor, like I said, most of the time, sometimes students feel a little bogged down by their preparation. Maybe things are not going right. Maybe there are things that are happening at the personal front too. You will require to talk to a person. And since you are doing this class in an online format, quite obviously, you may be away from other aspirants or a support group. So consider this dedicated mentor not just as your academic mentor. If you have other concerns, other problems, strategizing, or generally in life, you can always speak to this dedicated mentor, which is a part of your Select 360 program. Not just this, we will have UPSC Khazana. Now, what is UPSC Khazana? Many of our best faculties have already completed the lectures. Some of these lectures we have selected and we have put them in a repository for you. So if you are, let's say, if there is a class of economics happening in your Pinnacle batch and you want to also prepare, let's say, polity on the side, so you don't have to wait for the live classes of polity to happen. If you want to prepare it beforehand, you can go to UPSC Khazana, find the lecture for polity and go through these lectures on your own. These are a set of recorded lectures already available. This repository is available to you if you select the 360 feature top-up for yourself. Not just this, you will also have a daily answer writing, but with evaluation this time. In your regular batch, you will be given daily practice problems, be it objective type questions, be it subjective questions, but they will not be evaluated. However, if you select the 360 top-up, the same questions will also be evaluated for you. So not only are you getting your practice done, you're also getting your evaluation also happening at the same point in time. Not just this, we will have our prelims and mains test series, of course, as a part of the Select 360 degree top-up, and then your NCRT recorded lectures too. So all in all, you will have a Srijan main program also, which is a specific exclusive program for people who have cleared their prelims examination. A lot of hand-holding happens in this program. You will be given dedicated mentors. There is a team of people who is going to assist you with your answer writing practice, with your strategy also, especially if you have cleared your prelims examination. It's only for those people who have cleared their prelims examination. Followed by that, you have your interview guidance program, which is also going to be available to you if you go for the 360 feature. All right, so all in all, Select 360 feature is only going to come at a minimal cost of rupees 7,000 to your regular plan. You will have a dedicated mentorship, you will have prelims and mains test series, you will have daily answer writing but with evaluation. You will also have an access to the Srijan mains program. You will have access to UPSC Khazana, which are pre-recorded lectures. You will have these books, the classroom material, supplementary material delivered to you in hard copies. And you will have NCRT recorded lectures and the interview guidance program, should you be lucky enough to appear for the interview this year. So all in all, these are our features. Without Select 360, You will not have access to test series, Khazana, UPSC books, in hard copy formats, NCRT recorded lectures, region mains, as well as interview guidance program. If you go for the select 360-degree feature alongside your Pinnacle batch, you're going to get all of these things, which is recorded lectures, live lectures, daily class notes, DPPs, DMPs, doubt solving sessions, as well as answer writing classes. And in addition, you're going to get many other features too, which are coming to you at a very steal away price. All right. So this is going to be about Pinnacle batch 2017, right? This is all from my side. Want to sum it up?
That's, I guess, sir has cleared everything. So hopefully, if you guys are looking for an all English batch with all the essential features required in the preparation, you can join the batch, and these teachers have already been suggested to you. Rest, hopefully, if you join, if you don't join, that is a very different thing. All of you guys do well. That's what we would hope. Just study well and do best in your life. Thank you.